Hello there, I'm Katrina,
I'm Jen. Hi.
and we are here to bring you a update on the chakras and to talk about the different chakras. So today, this week, it's going to be all about the Anahata, which is the heart and sternum. So
It's a good one.
it's a good one.
Yeah. It's like a fan favorite. Everyone loves the heart chakra. So
Yeah,
I'm excited.
I just realized for those of you who have got the PowerPoint, I have put the Manipura image in the heart chakra space. So
I didn't even notice.
that was last week's one. Um, and we will continue from the Manipura all the way to the heart. So the heart, if you go on to the fifth slide, is actually green, as you can see there.
Correct.
It's a green
Yeah.
flower with loads of petals. I can't remember how many petals. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 14 petals on that one. So I don't normally do that sort of thing, but hey, just to test things. So where is it located? It's located the spinal column, the inner wall, behind the center of the chest. So just where the sternum is, just behind the sternum there. So and
Mhm.
obviously it relates to the heart. So what does the Anahata do? It's the center of great importance. It is all about fate and free will. It's expansive of air, unconditional nature of love. So it's how we are able to show up and love in a huge way. Again, I think it relates to Ahimsa, the greater love and love for all living beings, an unconditional nature of love. It's about finding your natural rhythm and being motivated by love. So coming from a place of love instead of a place of fear. So now we're moving up the chakras rather than staying at the lower chakras. We've now gone past the middle and we're now heading upwards. So things are about to change and get a bit more interesting.
Indeed, indeed. And everyone loves to talk about love. Who doesn't love love? Or like to love something or love someone or have great compassion. And that's where this chakra is associated with these characteristics. So, just in the reading, it says this chakra is a very delicate center, obviously, because it's our heart center. And this is where we carry our emotions. So people can often refer to our emotions as very delicate, or they may say, oh, someone is in a very delicate or fragile state right now. It just means that their heart might be very tender. They might be feeling more compassion or empathy or experience suffering. Um, and the interesting part is it's directly connected with the part of the brain which is responsible for all the creative sciences and fine arts, such as painting, dance, music, poetry, and so on. So, this is the chakra where we really want to start focusing on our creative energy. So, anything you like doing creatively, like we talked before about singing and getting that vibration and that sound going in the body. Well, singing in this aspect is talking about the creative aspect, creating not just sound, but creating words, creating rhymes, poetry. Same thing with painting or any kind of artistic endeavor that you're interested in or you partake in. This is channeling the heart chakra and the creative aspect of this chakra.
Exactly. And therefore, it's coming from a place of love. So we create with love and it comes from the heart. And that's where so many love songs have been written and poetry and you name it, it all comes from the heart. So yeah, it's extremely powerful. So
Absolutely.
moving on, what does it correspond to? Let's make that a little bit bigger so I can see. Ooh, there we go. Okay, the descriptive word is I love. So in your heart, I love. The force is equilibrium. Sense is touch, to touch something, to pick up a flower and touch it. Food is vegetables. The element is air. Color is green, which is a very natural color. And the celestial body is Venus. The creature animal is antelope, deer, or dove. I really love doves and the sounds that they make, and antelopes and deers. Yeah,
Yeah, and antelope, it says in the reading that it actually says black antelope,
black antelope. Hmm.
and which is known for its alertness and fleetness of foot.
Oh,
So yeah.
good. Maybe that's what it is. So physically, when we have problems with the heart chakra, it can manifest as asthma. So if you're asthmatic, you have trouble breathing. That's it can relate there because you feel it in your sternum. It's like can't get a gasp there, or and
He
there's
took my breath away.
my breath away. Circulatory system as well. Emotionally, it if it doesn't work very well, it relates to bitterness. So we feel bitter, we feel envious, maybe towards other people. The sense of grief. I also feel that the sense of grief is important for us to experience, and a lot of people are not aware of that sense of grief that they're going through, and a lot of the time that also relates to a blocked heart chakra where they're not able to experience that because grief is just an important emotion to process, especially if you've lost a loved one, and you need to try and explore that because otherwise it's just you're gonna hold it here, and you do feel tight-chested about it. There is a physical experience that goes along with it, and on the bright side, you've got joy and love. So you wholeheartedly feel joyful, you feel a lot of love, and the mental state is self-love. So it's how the love that you feel for yourself, that you're able to put yourself forward, not in a selfish way, but just like, I need to do this for me because then I will be able to be there for you. So it's a kind of like an oxygen mask situation that you have to be able to attend to your own needs first and respect yourself over that. So then the respect goes down to the Muladhara, which we talked about before. So yeah.
Of course. And another thing is you can't really feel grief if you don't feel love at some point, because
It's true.
that's the whole purpose of grief is if you love or care, have compassion for something and it's gone or you lose it, then that's where the grief is. So that's a big reason why it's tied into the heart chakra is that you can't have one without the other.
No, you certainly can't have one without the other, because otherwise, how are you going to know what love feels like if you've never experienced grief? And how do you know what grief feels like if you've not experienced love? Because one is the shadow of the other. So this is the thing with chakras. You've got the shadow side and you've got the bright side, and obviously it's about trying to find an equilibrium and equal balance of the two, because we can't say no, we're never going to feel grief and it's always going to be love. That's not what this is about. This is about acknowledging that sometimes grief is going to come into place, and it's about how we deal with it. So this is why working on this chakra, and particularly if you do suffer or are feeling grief, you need to be able to explore it so that you can have a healthy relationship with your emotions. So that's really important.
Right. And as it relates to our, experience with a narcissist,
Mm-hmm.
this is like something that I really felt whenever it came time for me to leave.
Yeah.
And you don't know unless you've been through it that when you love someone, you've tried to prove yourself or beg them to love you back, right? But then when it's done and it's gone, and you're like, this is, I can't overcome, these narcissistic tendencies. The grief is there. It feels like a death. And so, that's part of overcoming is feeling it, experiencing it, and then learning more about the heart chakra and going into self love and self care to redirect once you've grieved, and you spent, because everyone grieves differently, spent that time for yourself to redirect and uplift yourself at that point to say, okay, I'm going to redirect my love at this point and not live in a state of grief.
Because that's the danger. You could easily go into that state of spiraling down because you're in that state of grief, and it's like, no, it's not a bad thing to experience grief, but it's got its place. And then after some time, you've got to learn how to put yourself first and experience the self-love, and then the grief will slowly die away, and then love will emerge, and then you'll have a lot more space for that. So nothing lasts forever, which is always a good thing. you know yeah. So what happens when the anahata is blocked? So there's a sense of alienation. I have experienced this as well, because um, you feel like you're alienated from other people because you're not allowing yourself to be open and communicate with them. You're not allowing these relationships to um, be present because you're kind of scared in a way. So you're kind of pushing people away. So the sense of alienation's there. On the other hand, you've also got the sense of attachment, because attachment is where you cling to someone too much and you depend on them. And, we can't keep on depending on um, people in an intense way like that. We've got to have our own back. And so that's where healthy boundaries and relationships come in, is to know, like, we've got this group, the Facebook group, and I think it's good that we're here because we can depend on each other. We can share our problems because it's not one individual. But if you're sharing your problems to a group, then each of us in the group can take some of the load. But if it's forced on one person, it's going to weigh that person down. So it's really important to acknowledge that and not put too much dependency, because that in itself is also codepending. Yeah, it's like an addiction. So yeah.
And it backs that person into a corner too, because then the person that you're venting to, or putting all of your thoughts and problems and issues on, they're kind of like, do they want my help? Do they want my advice? Do they just want me to listen? Who am I supposed to be? And when you're in that state of grief or attachment or loneliness, you don't know sometimes it's not so easy to identify what exactly it is that you need.
No, exactly.
And so, yeah, it can be a burden on, your person that you're venting to. So I do think this group is an excellent way to get more objective perspectives.
Yeah, way different place. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're always going to have someone that'll comment, advice based.
Yeah.
And these are people you've never met, so they're approaching it from a very objective standpoint. Or you'll have the people that are like, I'm so sorry you're going through this. You get it both.
Yeah.
And it's
wonderful. Yeah.
It is.
And again, from your perspective, you can choose whether something is too much for you. You can say, right, okay, I see your point. I'm probably not going to go there, because we all grieve and we all love and experience these emotions in our own way, which is suited to us. So there's no one shoe fits everyone, so it's all about knowing what works for you and disregarding the rest. You don't have to take everything in that has been given to you as advice. I used to think that, and it weighed me down massively. So yeah, we need to be able to know, find out who we are. And that's why self-love is so important, because you have to have that relationship with yourself to know, like, yeah, am I prepared to do this? Am I prepared to do that? Where do my boundaries lie with certain things,
Right.
So yeah. Okay, so we're talking about grief, and then there's loneliness that's attached to the chakra when it's blocked. So the sense of again, it's like alienation as well. You're alienating yourself from other people, so you're going to have a sense of loneliness, feeling like, kind of like what's the word, feeling like a victim. You feel like as if you put yourself down all the time as well. So that kind of is not very attractive to other people, but at the same time you might be feeling this. But the idea is not to get stuck in that rut. And there's so many of us even in this group that we get stuck on calling ourselves the victim. And actually, all right, you can do that for a little bit, but then snap out of it, because we all have to. If you want to move forward, you can't play the victim all the time. So
you have to take control back at some point.
Yeah.
And this is where this chakra focuses on fate, free will, right? And so you probably have met people before that are like, well, it's just fate.
Yeah.
It happened because it was destiny. It was meant to happen. Or you can approach it from a perspective like, yeah, but there were decisions that I could have made to change the outcome. Or I can use my free will to make decisions in the future to change how this is going to continue to affect me. And so within the text, it says the heart chakra, this is where the thoughts and desires of the individual are materialized and fulfilled. And so there's a story about a tree that grants wishes, right? And so a person takes shelter under this tree and they're like, gosh, it's so dark, or it's so cold, like I wish I had a blanket. And he gets a blanket, I'm hungry, food appears, right? But then in the same token, the next day, or deep into the night when it's really dark, he's like, I really hope a lion doesn't come and eat me. And a lion comes and eats him.
Yeah. Because of the fear.
So that's right. Right. And so you can, you know, perpetuate and manifest good things, you know, like shelter, warmth, security, or you can manifest the fear and, you know, all the other negative things, the shadow side of things. And so this is where these things can come true and be fulfilled and materialized in the heart chakra. So if you're going to present statements, try to always present them in a positive way and don't add the negative aspects to statements. Because when we're focusing on this chakra, we're trying to get out of that pattern
Yeah.
of doing that. And so basically there are two ways of thinking, right? There's dependent thinking and then there's independent thinking. And that's what we're talking about whenever we're trying to recover from our narcissistic abuse is we can be dependent on the advice and the opinions of others, right? Or we can be dependent on that train of thought that maybe our narc conditioned us to think or feel for so long. Or we can really channel deep within our heart chakra and do a lot of heart chakra meditations and sound healings and Reikis and begin to think independently and say, okay, well, what is right for me from this point on?
Exactly. And I also feel that when you're working through these chakras and energetic healing in general, it's always useful to have to journal, to write down your emotions about after every session so that you can get clear with yourself and see where you are. Has any boundaries come up? Because if you've been abused, like we have narcissistic abuse, then they're manipulating your mind and then making you very dependent on them. So what shift has taken place between your first session to your second session, you know, because these things do happen on a very subtle level and you're not aware of it, but you might wake up one day go and totally change but not be aware of how that change happened, you know. So if you want to be involved in your process, which I'm sure it's a very, very fascinating journey and you know you wouldn't want to miss it, it's really good to make note of these sort of things, what comes up, you know. It's fascinating because maybe some stuff comes up and one day and the opposite happens the other day. So it's good to see the good and the bad, but at the same time it's really important to try and get out of this self-destructive journey that we put ourselves in, because you know manifestation, the law of attraction works like, you know, if you think of something bad then you're in a downward spiral and that's just going to get it worse and worse and worse. So try and make it an upward, you know, vortex.
Even if it's just, you know, little incremental gains.
Mm,
And we see a lot of this online and social media where people will start gratitude journals.
yes.
And this is where gratitude journals, and you don't have to call it gratitude journal because it's kind of cliche and maybe overused in a lot of areas. So you can call it, you know, just my growth journal.
Yeah, growth journal. And or
Yeah.
you could have a title for every chakra you're working on. So gratitude relates to the heart, so your heart journal, you know, or yeah, whatever you want. It's yeah, yeah. So there's a lot of, yeah,
And
it's
it'll start to help you develop that independent thinking process instead of that dependent process that are associated with the lower chakras, because the independent thinking and free will, it comes from the heart chakra.
yeah, heart chakra.
Uh, Dependent on others, we're operating in our lower chakras.
Yes, right.
And so just doing that simple thing, which is tedious at first because you're like, oh gosh, I didn't do my gratitude journal today. But
It's,
sometimes it's
if
just
you miss
fun.
it, just continue the next day, you know. Yeah,
Yeah.
pick it up whenever, and don't be so hard on yourself, because that's the worst thing, because then being so hard on yourself means that you're going to fall back and then you'll be like, oh, I can't be bothered, you know, to catch up with it. So every day is a fresh day. Every you know hour or even second, you forget the last second and start again. It doesn't matter, you know, start from the beginning. It really doesn't matter. So what else I've got up here for the block chakra is passive aggression. So this again relates to how we have been treated in a narcissistic abusive relationship, you know, being the passive person and therefore holding a lot of anger within, right? You know?
And then just being on the receiving end of
Oh my gosh, yeah.
aggressiveness is the worst because you're like, were they being nice or mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
you're always second guessing yourself around this person. You're like, that was kind of a backhanded compliment kind of thing, it makes you doubt your position with that person. So yeah, on the unbalanced side, which could be a very prevalent characteristic of a narcissist, is passive aggressiveness.
Yes, exactly. Passive aggressive.
Gaslighting, when someone gaslights you and then they make you kind of question your own reality. Like, gosh,
Yeah, yeah.
did I really, what? Huh? Did it really happen? Like those kinds of things. It's very passive aggressive behavior that is sometimes a lot more abusive and hurtful and creates these soul scars that we talked about before, more than just the aggressive nature.
True.
With the aggressive nature, you know what you're getting.
Exactly. But the passive aggressive, you don't know what's coming, when it's coming, if it's coming. Know what's happening. Yeah, so it's a scary place to be. But also, if you've been in this relationship for years and years and years, and all this stuff builds up in you and it makes you doubt yourself, so this is why it's really important to heal on all the chakras and all the levels, because when we get to the heart, we're healing on a very, very deep perspective, where you've been really hurt, really, really hurt truly, and all those years and all those times of being talked down to, put down, and then put up on a pedestal, and it's like, well, what's going on, and
Yeah.
it's a way of, as Jen says, gaslighting and manipulating and causing you to have those trauma bonds that you have to have their approval and need that, and it gets to a point that once you've even left that relationship, as I experienced before in my early stages of going out with Ed, I felt that I had to behave the same way and treat Ed the same way, because that's what I was comfortable with, and he's not at all a narc. In fact, he's abused himself. But it's like you feel that that's who you have to be, because that's what you know. And that's why working on chakras is so healing, because it gets you, it kind of resets your human button, and it gets you to into a point where it's like, right, okay, no, that was wrong, I shouldn't have done that. So yeah.
It does, and it gives you more perspective and a foundation to work with, especially when like you said, you came from a place where you didn't know how it was appropriate to engage another person anymore. Like you thought toxic was normal.
Yeah, and especially if you've been treated badly by maybe family or friends, or as you were growing up, perhaps you had narcissism within the family, or even within the school or the system that you were in, as I experienced with my schooling days. It only occurred to me whilst doing some clearing of my own recently that I was actually really abused as a child at school. And talking to people here in the West, and I tell them about my experience, they're like, that's not normal, Katrina. Teachers don't behave that way. And I was, oh, really? Okay. Well, that then got me ready to be in a relationship with my ex, who treated me very similarly. And I felt comfortable by that, which is not a place to be, because I hadn't done any healing. And now that I have done my healing, I know what is right, what is wrong, where I'm supposed to be. I can, you can love, you can go out there and experience love, and it's an amazing experience. It's absolutely amazing. So that brings you to the final point in this block chakra part, about questioning the existence of love, because when the heart chakra is blocked, we do question, does love exist? Is this all there is? Oh, maybe this is all there is. Maybe this
do I deserve it?
Yeah, and then every time you say something like that to yourself, you're actually really hurting yourself, and you're kind of confirming the bonds and the trauma that has been said to you, and you're kind of giving other people who traumatized you that power, or even kind of like affirming that what they did to you is right. So you've got to really love yourself, and you've got to really kind of like make peace with things. Yeah, definitely.
Right. And so along with what you were saying about how you just don't know how to be around other people anymore, a reading that I was doing with the heart chakra, it says, whatever you wish for comes true. You're very happy, but at the same time, it's necessary to constantly analyze your attitude towards yourself and towards others,
Mm.
because we tend to treat other people like we treat ourselves. So if you're abusing yourself, you don't think that you're worthy of love, or you're feeling alienated or lonely or whatever, then you tend to lash out at other people or kind of give out what you're feeling. And so it's not just a one-sided thing where, I need to be nice to people because it's good to be nice to people, but you have to be nice to yourself, and it's your attitude towards yourself and towards others. Be careful of your doubts. Um, so in here it was saying, if you develop heart palpitations, you think, oh my gosh, I'm developing a heart condition, right? Like it will continue to perpetuate sickness. Or if I'm having a pain in my abdomen, it's my gallbladder. Oh my gosh. And then all the time it's going to be, oh, I have a gallbladder condition. I have a gallbladder, until you have a gallbladder condition, because that type of thinking creates illness within the body.
Yeah.
Now, of course, there are cases where you're actually sick, right? But there are some times where your mind and your conditioning and how you're operating can actually make you ill.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Totally agree on that. And it's kind of like the self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it? To kind of like you're talking that this is going to happen and it does happen, So yeah, yeah. So we're going to move on to the section on what happens if it's unblocked. So the Anahata. So I've got here acceptance that all is as it should be. All is that it should be. That's what it should say, I think. It's all as it should be. Acceptance, just accepting that everything is as it should be. So once you accept that, that's a very powerful statement, and it's been used as affirmations for people use it as affirmations. Everything is as it should be. So accepting that means that you don't worry about the future, because worry and fear, we feel it here in the heart as well. So you don't worry about stuff you can't control, and letting things go. So having that sort of mindset is very, very powerful, and that's in the Anahata. So you also have harmonious relationships with others, not just people, but maybe creatures, insects, whatever. Harmony with nature, positive neutrality, and then seeing God or seeing love in everything. That's really important. So you have like this sense of greater love rather than just conditional, but it's an unconditional, and it doesn't matter what happens or what's being done to you. It's not like trying to get your own back. It's not about that. It's about seeing the good even in your ex-nat. And for me now, I've come to a point where it's like I actually thank him for the experience that I've had, not because it was amazing, because it wasn't, but it has been very fulfilling and helpful to me today, because now I can help other people. And so I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful that it was a hard experience to teach me a lot. And I probably think that I came from a background as well where I was quite spoiled as a brat growing up. And having that kind of like sense knocked out of me, I probably deserved it in that sense, but maybe not, because nobody deserves to be treated that badly. But then having looked at it again, I feel that I've gained a lot from it. So for that, I wouldn't be the person that I am now. I'm much more humble and grateful for all the things that come into my life. So it's a happier place to be, that's for sure. Yeah.
Definitely.
And so the unconditional love for all living beings, which we practice in yoga, which is Ahimsa, and that has taken me several trips, well, 2 trips to India to actually grasp the whole of. Because I used to be terrified of little lizards, those little geckos.
And the little geckos.
They used to terrify me, and now I can be in a room with one and go like, "Hello, gecko. Hello, fellow friend. Hello, fellow brother." And it's okay, and I'm not scared of them, because they used to. I had one that landed in my bra once, and that was like, that was quite freaky, quite scary.
It's not the creature itself.
No.
It's the swiftness of their movement.
Yeah.
That startles me. So it's always like that unpredictability, like where are you gonna jump? Where are you gonna go? That's the part that, I'm kind of like, but live in peace, Mr. Gecko. It's all
Yeah.
good.
And then when you have crickets landing on you in the middle of the night as you're sleeping in India, that's an experience as well. So, you just have to make peace with them. Okay,
I'm gonna
cricket,
sing you a song.
this little thing. You do. Yeah. So, what can I do to heal my anahata, to balance my anahata out? So, as you've seen before, we've got the same list of sources that we can heal ourselves from, but obviously, it is all changed based on the chakra that you're working on. The attention is going to be in the different areas. So, Kundalini yoga. Obviously, you're focusing on the heart, the meditation. There are heart meditations that we can do. Hatha yoga, again, heart opening positions, perhaps, like we've got the oh god, what was it now, the one that you go back, I really can't remember it now. I had it in my head and I've totally forgotten it. Not to worry.
Which one?
The one where you're going back and you're opening your heart like that, and you're
Camel.
camel, that's right, camel. I knew it was a desert dwelling animal, but I just couldn't find the name. I get like that, my dyslexia kicks in. Um, so we've got sound bowl healing again, and so Jen will talk to you about that, and Reiki as well, and also Qigong. Then you've got Tai Chi, and getting out in nature, no matter what chakra you're working on, that is amazing. Just to get out there, swim. It was a bit too cold to swim, but like walk on the grass barefoot and hug trees and just really feel what's around you. And also taking care of your nutrition. Nutrition supplements the whole chakra work, because you actually need to feed your cells healthy foods in order to get your chakras working properly too. And also unplugging in modern technology and spending more time with doing things that you love, stuff that makes you laugh,
And around people you love.
and around people you love.
And
Exactly.
around people that love you and respect you and appreciate you.
So given this lockdown situation, that's going to be a bit tricky. So, there are things called FaceTime or Zoom and things like that. So get on there and communicate with people that you love, make it a regular thing and see their faces. And obviously we can't go out and meet other people, but watch movies that make you laugh, or do things that make you happy. I know this is a difficult time for a lot of people, but it's about seeing it as an opportunity on what you can improve, on what you can what kind of like genius, or what kind of place you can step into that to make you prosper or to make you feel really really happy. So see it as an opportunity rather than, oh god, we're stuck in here again. So with everything that comes in life, there's always an opportunity, and it's about trying to find what those opportunities are, so it's not all um problematic.
Every day, just kind of getting in that rut.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And going back again to like associating with people that are vibing with your vibe.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
vibe is one of those cool words now. But when the heart chakra blooms and awakens, you have to start creating good associations, right? Because just like that, changing the way we think, thinking more positively, it's the same thing whenever we see someone. So you want to change your associations with people. So instead of saying, oh my gosh, this person always is like so doom and gloom, or they have such a bad attitude, try to find or pick out the good things,
Yeah.
we can eliminate any person in our life that has a bad vibe, but
Yeah.
every then we all get bad vibes, right? But up to us to say, I can change this, or I can be here for this person because my heart chakra is opening.
Yeah. Show some love, genuinely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
When
that's
you,
sorry.
sorry. But when you need to eliminate people from your life, like your narcissist, you shouldn't associate with people who depend on their fate, right? Or just kind of sit back and let life happen to them instead of saying, I control things. Rather, always associate with people who depend on faith. You must have unswerving faith in the power of your own free will. And so it's always a choice, right? Who you engage with, who you associate with, how you think. um, with everything in your life. So this is the chakra where it's important to start thinking positive, having hope. Don't dwell on negativity. Negative things will come, negative people will come.
Mhm.
Don't stay there. Move away from it.
Mhm.
So, yes.
Very
And
well.
I cut you off, so
No,
your
that's
turn.
fine. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. I was just going to say that, yeah, so this chakra works on coming from a place of love. So as long as we approach people from that place of love, then we know ourselves that we've done our bit, you know, that we have come with kindness. And so if other people retaliate to that, don't take that in, because that's not your energy, that's their energy. And so, you know, you shield yourself and you protect yourself. So I've had that quite a lot as well, actually, with people who I've been trying to communicate and shit and you know, reach out to. I've had quite a few people come back to me and say that, you know, you're not genuine, you're doing this and whatever, and all this sort of stuff. And obviously, you know, the work that I do on a one-to-one basis is obviously not free, because there's a lot of work involved and there's a lot of energy expelled from my side, but also a great deal of investment for anyone who's participating, because the idea is to do a transformation, and nothing like that would come for free anyway. But the idea is that you're able to explore that. But I've had a few people who have been quite negative about that, but that's absolutely fine, because, you know, there's a lot of information on this Facebook site, and we're making that free. And, you know, it's up to you. It's up to you to decide whether you want to take it on. If you don't want to take it on, there is no pressure to do anything you don't want to do. It's all here for you. And so, you know, there may be a time that you are ready, and if you are, then I'm here, and Jen is also here as well. So, you know, we're here for you all. So it's, you know, it's hopefully, I'm hoping that this space can be a really loving place for us all, and we want to come from a place of love. So opening our heart chakras to welcome you all in.
And it is difficult too. And these were conversations that we had with our group in India. Was a lot of times you find that people want to do yoga, people want to do meditation, people want to do these like self-bettering activities and learn these methods, but they don't always want to pay for them.
Yes, right.
They don't see it as the science, like going to a doctor,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Or they always want to try to undercut you or bargain with you. And what people don't understand is the we spend a lot of money on training.
Mm.
We spend a lot of money on books and resources. Like each level that we go through, you know, it's an investment. And although a lot of times you don't always see a return on that investment, you still do want to have that energy exchange happen.
Exactly.
And so giving away things for free to a certain extent is fine. You're doing your your duty, right? To put the information out there. But at some point, when someone is providing you with a service, right? And they're putting their energy into it, they're writing a class using the training that they paid for, and they spent a month or 5, 6 months in
So,
India
okay.
learning.
Yeah.
It's where do they get their return? And it's a karmic exchange,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So you're giving something, but you're not getting anything in return. So the person that you're giving to that's not giving anything back, they're, and I don't like to say bad karma because there's no such thing as bad karma. Karma is karma, right?
Yeah.
But when you put the association with it is you need to give something in return for that. It is an energy exchange.
Well, like I like to mention that it doesn't have to necessarily be in the form of money. It could be an exchange of services. So, for instance, um, seeing that Jen is a Reiki healer, I could always turn to her for Reiki, and she could turn to me for Kundalini yoga. So we could do an exchange that way. So, you know, it's an exchange of energy is an exchange of energy, whether, you know, you're going to be exchanging it for services or goods. Perhaps you sell essential oils or something like that. You could always do a swap, you know, or maybe if you run a grocer's and you could supply a week's vegetables or something, you know, anything. So, you know, or pay for our dinner or something like that, you know. It's an exchange of energy. So, but the way that we live in a society where it's capitalism that drives us, and so money is the way that we actually buy stuff, purchase stuff. So it's obviously the easiest commodity to use to do that. So yeah, and there is a lot of preparations that healers or teachers have to do before they actually spend time with you on the session. So before I actually spend time teaching a class, I actually have to do my own practice, my own Kundalini yoga, my own meditations, my own rituals. And of course I enjoy doing them, but the thing is, before teaching I do more rather than just my usual routine. So there's a lot of engagement, and then if I find out that last minute that nobody can make the class, and then that means I have done all of that, and not to say it's for nothing, but you can see what I mean. Yeah, there's a lot of effort being put in. So it's always feels good to be on the receiving end, I suppose. Like, so if I'm putting the effort in to then not to expect, but to have that gratitude being sent back to me, you know. So it's a sense of like you being appreciated, because otherwise it's like you're being walked over. And then what does that relate back to? Narcissism, right? So if we could take that back to that, it means that the person who is providing the service is being walked over, and not, there's no sense of gratitude there, you know. So again, it's you as the service provider are being a people pleaser. So, you know, you're just encouraging that loop. And so we're trying to break out of that loop that we were in. So in all avenues, I think that's what I'm trying to say, is that, you know, we are what I send out, I get back. And so I think we have to kind of like act on that sort of way, where we're like mirror, you know.
We have to appreciate each other in that way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, so we'll move on to sound healing now.
So sound healing, vibrational healing for the heart chakra promotes love, compassion, and integrations of association based on faith, not fate. Okay. And so here, what we're focusing on is understanding that love does not involve bargaining. It is free of expectation, right? And so over the years, especially after my relationship with my narcissist, I found that when you have expectations of people, you're always going to be disappointed, right? But when you're free of expectation, you just go into something with an open heart and you're like, this could turn out great, this could turn out bad, it doesn't matter. I'm not expecting anything from it. You're never going to be disappointed, right? And so I think people that have very high expectations of themselves tend to have high expectations of others and are consistently disappointed because not everyone operates on the same level. In addition to that, love doesn't involve bargaining. It's not a barter system. So when, you know, we teach yoga classes and we're asking for a karmic exchange, that's a system, right? But when you love someone, a partner, a family member, a pet, it's unconditional. Whether they, you know, are fulfilling a need at that moment or not, it doesn't matter. That love is just going to be there. And that's what is the whole context of the heart chakra. So with the sound healing, giving optimism, alleviate expectations associated with an exchange-based mindset, right? So when we're talking love, it's just love, right? I don't love you because of what you can do for me. I just love you for who you are, Katrina. So
too.
That's it.
It's genuine. It's genuine. We're family now.
Yes. I love Katrina.
I love it.
It's not, you know, Katrina does XYZ for me, therefore I love her. That's not love. That's conditional. So with the heart chakra, on the sound healing slide, I did put the link to the Tibetan singing bowls for the heart chakra. Wow. And then on the self Reiki slide, I put the 2 hand positions for this one. And so you can place the hands just on top of the breast here. So if you're in Shavasana, this is typically the most comfortable hand position. If you're seated, doing a seated meditation, you can do one hand on top of the other centered, because the center of the chest is where the heart chakra is.
Yes.
And so whatever's comfortable for you, chest area. For self Reiki on this, the mantras that will state is only the best energies are coming to me. I am a clear, open, receptive channel for the universal life energy. the world or the whole world is in me. I am in everyone, right? Because that is unconditional love, is when you see yourself in someone else and they can see themselves in you. Because inside, we might look different on the outside, but on the inside, we're all the same.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So the whole world is in me. I am in everyone. I love. And then Om Shanti. And so Om, of course, is your universal sound, right? And Shanti means peace. And so at the end, just chanting, Om Shanti. So at the very end, just relaxing yourself, because that's where our peace comes from. And then, of course, you can focus on the color green. You can focus on the love characteristics of the heart chakra, being self-assured, focusing on faith, not fate, thinking independently, all the things that we discussed throughout our little talk today for self-Reiki when you do your quiet time or your meditation, whatever you like to call it. And just enjoy and practice love. Because then it becomes natural. So
yeah, exactly. And then the more you practice it, the better it becomes, So yeah. Well, that's it from us today, and we will be on out again on Friday next week, talking about the Vishuddhi, which is the throat chakra. So that relates to the heart, and it's your ability to speak your truth, or maybe people pleasing. Who knows? Anyway, thank you for joining us today. We hope to see you again. So please comment any questions or anything. Feel free to leave us a message and we'll get back to you. And so take care. Namaste all.
namaste.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, Katrina.
Bye, Jen.